Hi there, greetings and salutations. My name is Jake Query. That is the seemingly excitable Derek Schultz, and we are wearing T-shirts from the two respective professional sports franchises in the city of Indianapolis because both are topical and epicentered right now in the late month of April in Indianapolis. The Indiana Pacers against the Milwaukee Bucks. Actually, on this day in particular, a chance to close that out. We'll see if that happens. Colts have a bunch of new faces, and as a result, the Lombardi is right around the corner. Right, Derek?
You know it, Bo. You know it. I'm excited. Chris Ballard was in his bag. Actually, I didn't hear a lot of over-the-top praise for Ballard. Colts got Tyler Warren, and we used him as the screenshot for last week's show, and I don't think it was any secret that he was their top target. And so the draft fell in a way. I think we compared it to Ryan Kelly in 2016. That's the last time that the Colts took, I think, the most obvious pick. Like, if this player is here, they are definitely taking this guy. And the Colts did exactly that. When you're picking in the teens, Jake, it very rarely works out that way.
Well, what's interesting is this. I think if you look at it, Ryan Kelly would be one. Outside of Andrew Luck, there really have not been a lot of draft picks in Indianapolis Colts history that had no counterpoint to be made of any other player. You know, even Peyton Manning, people were like, but should they take Ryan Leaf? Mm-hmm. You know, other draft picks they've had when Edgerrin James was drafted, people thought it should have been Ricky Williams. When Reggie Wayne was drafted, people thought they should have gone defense, et cetera, et cetera. This pick, just like a year ago, I mean, literally everything fell the way that the Colts needed it to fall in the draft last year. Now, it remains to be seen whether Leatu Latu was the right pick. But they got their first pick of anybody of a defensive player. They got the first pick of a defensive player in the draft. It just fell to them that way. Tyler Warren, when there was a player, and, I don't sit there and read, the draft magazines nonstop. So you tell me his last name, Derek, that 3 picks before the Colts, there was another player with the first name of Tyler that was drafted.
Oh, I know Loveland went 10th to the Bears.
So Loveland goes to the Bears, the tight end, right? And that was a surprise but even then you felt good because you're like, okay, there's still going to be a tight end on the board.
Yeah.
I think 2 or 3 picks before the Colts, might have been 11. So Loveland goes 10. I think it was 11. He comes up to the stage and said, Roger Goodell, and says, Tyler Booker to Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler, and everybody's going, oh, no, he's gone. And then once he was, you knew that wasn't Tyler Warren, you immediately thought he's going to be there. But wasn't there a part of you that thought they're going to get cute here and not go this route?
No, only because of the circumstances.
You seem tired today. If you getting enough sleep?
No, I'm doing fine. I thought if Warren was not there at 14, then they might try to do something cute. They'd probably trade down.
Yeah, I thought trading down was a distinct possibility.
That's what I kind of thought that they would do, but we don't really. And what if, I think the $1 million question, too, is that what if it was Loveland and Warren? And who did they like? I think it was always Warren. The way they talked about the position made it seem like it was going to be Warren. But Loveland and Warren were kind of viewed as basically on the same tier of prospect. Warren was just a highly productive guy and a tough, hard-nosed. People like that vibe.
Look, Tyler Warren
here in this city.
Here's the thing about Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren automatically becomes, and I know that the NFL, we have no idea, right, that how it's going to translate from college to the pros. But he's a physical player. He's athletic. He can play multiple positions. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to line up in the Wildcat in the pros, but Penn State used him in a lot of different places. I think he's a more versatile player than Loveland. Now, having said that, to me, and this is, I know you accuse me a lot of overthinking things, right? Mm-hmm. If you draft Tyler Warren with the 14th pick in the draft, and this is a guy that you think is a Dallas Clark type player, meaning a yard after catch, open the field up type of tight end.
Yak guy.
You've got to have somebody that can consistently deliver the ball to him in the 8 to 10 yard range. This tells me Daniel Jones in the game of, those, when you go to a football game or a basketball game and they have the little video board with the races, the red dot, the yellow dot, and the green dot. Mm-hmm. And it starts, and one goes out in front, and then
it's the great subway race at Yankee Stadium. They used to do that. Yeah.
Daniel Jones just he got out of the gate the fastest here because Anthony Richardson can't deliver the ball consistently from 8 to 10 yards, period.
No,
and if you have a young tight end, you need, while he is still a young player, the time is critical for confidence building and integration for a young tight end that you have invested a first half of your first-round pick on. You're not going to do that and then waste him with a guy that can't get him the football. Advantage Daniel Jones.
Even though I do think that it's a 50-50 quarterback battle, I would lean ever slightly towards Richardson just because it's better for him to win the job. Whether the Colts want to admit that or not, right? It's better for him to win the job. Like if it's split, then it probably goes to him. But, my hottest Colts take is that Richardson, and this is independent of Warren, that Richardson isn't going to be as good as Jones in camp. And my hottest Colts take is that Daniel Jones is going to be the week 1 starter. With where we sit right now. Now, obviously that might change in Westfield. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Richardson hits a new gear that none of us expected him to hit. But I think what this does, Jake, to kind of piggyback on your point without directly agreeing with you, now that you have Warren and you have the experienced wide receivers coming back, and while you don't have a great offensive line, you at least have a middling, a league average one, right? I think, wouldn't you say that the Colts offensive line probably, they got to figure out right guard and they got to figure out center. But for the most part, at least on the bookends, you're feeling pretty good about what you have there. There aren't any excuses left for Richardson now. It can't be, he's throwing to Jelani Woods and he was banged up, and he was throwing to Mo Alley Cox and he's not really an option. And all the receivers stink. The receivers don't stink. Now, I saw somebody grade the receiver room and he gave it an A, and I disagreed because there's not a game breaker. The receiver room is good. It's not excellent. It's good because you don't have a game breaker in there, at least not yet. Maybe A.D. Mitchell's one. I don't know. Maybe Pittman Jr.'s one, but I really don't think so. You have to know this year whether Richardson is the guy or not. You have to – it's blank or get off the pot time when it comes to the quarterback battle, not to be crass. But that's where you are. So the Warren pick – not only does it fulfill a big need, and he could be your future guy well beyond Richardson or the next quarterback that fails or the next quarterback that fails after him, right? Hopefully that's not the case. This helps you solve that Richardson problem this year, I think.
By the way, Query and Schultz is brought to you each and every week by the fine folks at Bailey & Wood. Bailey & Wood, of course, originally Southside Indianapolis, now serving all around central Indiana. And if you're talking about the very best mortgage rates, family-owned business, dedicated to community, it's an honor for us to be able to carry the name for Bailey & Wood each and every week. We are thrilled to be able to do so. And, Derek, they've been around. You knew them from literally the very beginning, right? And easy ways to get a hold of them as they continue to grow.
Yeah, 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com. And I knew Mike from the original office in 31 in Whiteland. Not far from the high school, and we got by, I think that was called Main Street, and you go past Whiteland High School, and then right on the right there was a strip when you're turning southbound, because I used to work in Franklin on 31. There was the original Bailey & Wood. And now the headquarters is right over there, and it's
BAWFG.com,
almost
right?
20 Indiana branch locations. Yeah, refinancing your mortgage, pre-approval for a mortgage. It's home buying season, spring. Everywhere I look, I see a homes for sale right now.
Yeah.
So, if you want to get your ducks in a row and be ready to buy, go ahead and get that pre-approval with our friends Mike Wood and the rest of the team at Bailey Wood Financial.
Also in the month of May, we, of course, partner with the American Dairy Association of Indiana because winners drink milk. We will bring you our winner of the week coming up later in the program, but we will once again be hosting the Fastest Rookie Luncheon as the month of May gets upon us. Still a race for IndyCar to go this weekend at Barber Motorsports Park, but then all attention shifts to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we are thrilled once again to represent the fine dairy farmers throughout the state of Indiana that make it possible for the Indianapolis 500 winner to enjoy the greatest celebration in all of sports, and doing so with the nourishment we'll tell you about for milk. Chateau Kitchens, Hoagies and Hops also on board. We are always happy for each, and Chili Water as well, each and every one of our sponsors that we're on board with.
No doubt about that. In fact, I don't usually like doing this because in the interest of flow, I like to stay on a topic and then we transition into a new topic. I don't like to transition out and then transition back in. You're the king of that on your show. So like just a random thought will pop in your head and then you transition out of that point that you were making and then you're into a news story about a squirrel or a raccoon.
It's remarkable the way I do it,
and then
right?
you transition back and then it's something completely different and off the wall. I hate that. Like I'm a very organizational compartmentalized person.
You got to keep the audience.
That's
guessing.
how I'm thinking all the time.
You get, it's like when you listen to the radio, you don't know what song's next, right?
We have a hot item, literally and figuratively.
Flinging cheese all over the place.
Oh, did I get cheese on there?
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to waste any of the delicious whiz. I'll lick it off the floor. Hoagies and Hops, Chili Water Brewing, 42nd and Boulevard. Christina was in the shop, and she was like, hey, come in and I'll make something hot. She made me dogs. So this is a pick-your-own dog.
Okay.
So you can do that. They have dogs on the menu. Settle it on there, Haas. They have dogs on the menu as it is that they have like the Freedom Dog and things like that has actual steak on it. Philly Freedom Dog, so it's like a cheesesteak dog. But you can pick your own. So if you can go in there, you can say, hey, I want whiz, I want bacon bits, I want, onion, whatever else, they'll make it for you. So my pick your own.
Spectacular.
I actually did whiz, bacon, and Peppadew pepper shooters. I'm just like, when in Rome, let's go for it here. So pick your own dog from Hoagies and Hops.
Why don't you could slice the pepper and put it across the...
Gotta go for it. Oh my God, that's good.
Yeah, okay.
The saltiness of the bacon, and the sweetness of the pepper, and the deliciousness of the dog. Really, really good. I know we talk about...
You're eating the pepper like they're grapes.
We talk about... Oh, yeah. We talk about... Oh, hell no.
Okay.
Don't bite as I'm biting, because then nobody's going to talk. It's just going to be silent. We talk about their cold sandals all the time. Their cheesesteaks. They have some delicious dogs. And they've got sides and fixins as well. The Nan's potato salad, house-made. The hummus, blood orange hummus, IPA, house-made. The dill dip,
look at that.
house-made. And Christina even threw in an entire whole pickle.
Okay, that has springtime written.
Look at that.
That's just like summertime as a kid,
Yep.
isn't it? Well, I guess we're not sharing that.
Whole pickle. Oh, I'll cut it in half. Are you a pickle guy?
Not now.
I'm a huge pickle guy. I'll cut this in half. Here, just take a bite on the other end.
No, it's okay.
Let's do it at the same time. Each bite, each end. You want to do that? What are you doing? I don't know. Jake's deciding to be weird.
For those listening and not watching, you have a rather large pickle that has not been sliced.
Why, thank you.
That you wanted to put in your mouth and have me come from the other side and each take a bite with you.
Jake, like I say on the show, not everything has to be like weird and sexual and you know what I mean. Like I don't know why you.
About that. It's just,
I don't know why you make it that way. Why you make it that way? So you can get
you got your little hands all over
the
that
entire dope. Just eat the other side. I washed my hands before I did the show.
No, zero chance.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah, I'd like to enjoy it, but no thanks.
I'm gonna eat that entire thing. Hero of the week. Sometimes great minds think alike, and we were on the same page with this one. In fact, the Pacers have played so well, we're going to make both of our awards. Spoiler alert, Pacers players. Miles Turner had a terrible game 3, but outside of that, he has had a fantastic series so far. And I don't remember who said this. I don't know if it was our buddy David Deering, who's a loyal listener to the show, formerly of the Fan fame. It might have been Freshface. It was one of those really smart people that we like on Twitter. One of those people that said, I think Miles Turner's playing the best basketball of his career right now because the stakes are high and you know it's gotten to the point where you need Turner to show up when the chips are down and all the cliches and he's doing that, right? He's had a fantastic series and he's been one of
money is he making himself?
The difference makers because when you really look at how the Stars have played, Tyrese Halliburton's been okay. It's been okay. He's had an okay series. Pretty good. All right. He wasn't great in game 1. Pretty okay. Pascal Siakam had a very quiet game 4. Mostly has been very good. And Turner, like I said, with game 3, that was a struggle, and that was not a good night for him. But overall, I think he's really kind of set the tone, and that's where the Pacers are winning this series, man. Nembhard, Nesmith, Turner. That's where they're winning this, and their depth. Their roster is so much better than Milwaukee's once you get past Giannis.
This is what people have not realized, and they haven't noticed it as it's happening before them, but it's a fact. This Pacers roster Tyrese Halliburton and the acquisition thereof, Pascal Siakam and the acquisition thereof, Aaron Nesmith and developing him in the style that he is playing, Andrew Nembhard at the 2 guard. All of it was built around and predicated and based upon having Miles Turner as their tone-setting offensive and defensive center. The way that Miles Turner plays in rim protection, facilitating the break, then being able to hit the 3 as the trail, moving the ball offensively, every piece of the Pacers puzzle right now is all in that Jenga Wood game. He is the centerpiece of all of it that's been there the longest, that everything is built around. And right now, the way he is playing in a contract year, he not only has necessitated that they re-sign him, but you are seeing now for people that thought that Miles Turner was an overrated player or too one-sided, whatever it may be, this is the vision and has been the vision from Kevin Pritchard, Chad Buchanan, and Rick Carlisle all along of the way that they want to see the Pacers play with Miles Turner as its centerpiece. Maybe not its best player, maybe not its best scorer, but the guy who the way that he plays, everything feeds off of. And they are very difficult to play against. Because of his ability to protect the rim and then their immediate ability to go down the floor, and because he is a viable shooter if the ball rotates over to him, their ball movement, everything that they do in the half-court set, and their depth has become important as well. But he is the key cog that has made all of this possible in this series.
Yeah, and he's been very efficient as well, 23 points on 13 shots, and he's making his threes, again, outside of Game 3. He's playing good defense. He's doing a little bit of everything.
Derek, you know what he is? He's built to last. Miles Turner's built to last because
he's been there 10 years.
Let's hope he's going to last even longer with a new contract. Chili Water built to last. This is absolutely fantastic. Chili Water is attached right there to Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard. This time of year, I mean, good Lord, go in, get an ice cold beer on draft, sit while your sandwich is being made right there in the adjacent property, or Chili Water in Fountain Square as well. But all of their beers are fantastic. That includes right here one of their fine ales and lagers. This is the German Pilsner, right up your alley.
Great track beer. That's why I chose it, because we're right around the corner from May. Great track beer. It's Chili Water's best track beer, I think. It's
great.
With the Pilsner here.
Very
built to last. BTL. Delicious.
Just
really
built
good
to last. You don't have to call it BTL. It's just built to last.
BTL. Really good. We come back on the show. Back into the Colts draft. What they didn't address, and what I was really surprised by, as far as their draft class is concerned, plus more into the Pacers. I think Jake and I disagree on where the series is. We didn't want to spend a lot of time on the Pacers because Game 5 is going to happen basically right after we bid you adieu on tonight's show. But I'm already looking forward to Indiana-Cleveland. We'll talk about it when we come back. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC.
Tonight.
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey & Wood presents Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. We were just talking about Hoagies and Hops. They're special right now. The Halliburton hot dog. Deep fried dog topped with whiz, bacon, and banana pep.
Yeah, or just
That's
eat
what
the
I'm
banana
talking about.
pepper and the dill pickle, apparently.
That sounds amazing. Oh, I got pickle juice in my beer. We actually have a school fundraiser on Saturday.
You know, you are the most disgusting eater I've ever met. Or heard, I should say.
That's a you problem. After party at Casa de Schultz, and we're doing a hot dog bar, and I bought 6 pounds of Cheese Whiz from Christina. Or actually, I didn't even buy it. I attempted to buy it, and she just gave it to me. She gave me 6 pounds of Cheese Whiz. It's going to last us all summer. But I got about 5 pounds of bacon. We have chili. We have like 80 hot dogs and buns, and it's going to be great. I'm going to be slanging them up. I just bought a new grill. Be slanging them up at like 11:30 in Midtown.
Hold on, I'm
11:30 p.m. So we're staying up late.
So this is the second. We had your 40th birthday, and now this.
Do you want to come?
Parties you've had that I've not been invited to.
You can come if you want.
Okay. Shannon planned my 50th birthday. First person she called was Derek. Epicenter of it, part of it, invited, keynote speaker.
That's not what happened.
Derek's 40th birthday, I find out about it a month later.
I called Shannon, and I said, hey, I'm pretty sure you're probably planning something, but are you planning something for Jake's 50th? And she's like, it's funny that you call me because I know how close you guys are.
No.
I was just about to call you. That's how that happened. That's the true story with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your 40th, what happened there?
That's all Ashley. If you got a problem, that's not a me problem. That's an Ashley problem. Ashley was leaning towards my college friends on that one, not my adult friend group. Well, I mean, obviously my college friends are still in my adult friend group, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, next time.
The ones that you didn't try to shadow box at your bachelor party before somebody brought their wife.
Look, man, Rolando, God bless him for bringing his wife to a bachelor party. I don't think that happened. I don't remember, so I can't verify whether it did. I know I pulled the trigger on the limousine. I was ready to go. I went in a trash can, but I was ready. We started at Rathskeller and with the Optimators, the big beers, and that was a horrible, horrible choice. That was a horrible choice.
Rathskeller Friday night, the elect's going to be there. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, they basically camp out there all summer, don't they?
Yeah, it's
like
great.
it's their
It's the
place. It's their home gym. Back to the Colts draft class. So tight end was an obvious need. They addressed that need. Edge was an obvious need. They're just going to draft an edge every year, right? You've got Quiddy
By the way,
Pay.
when did Derek, and I'm being serious when I ask this. I'm not trying to be funny. When did defensive end become edge?
Yeah, I think
is it because an edge is somebody that can also line up in the linebacker spot and come in? Is it more of a hybrid?
It's
spot?
more of like it's just a term for pass rusher, I think, more than anything else. But yeah, I hear you. Like 25 years, not even 25, 15 years ago when we were talking about the draft, like the early days of Quarian Schultz. I don't remember people being like, "Who's the best edge that's left?" It's just something that's
set
come.
the edge became a term, and then it became your edge.
Tui Malolalo. JTT. People are familiar with him because he was a great player at Ohio State.
Okay, I believe it's
Tui Malolalo. It's a tongue twister. I think I'm saying it right.
I was saying it correctly yesterday, and I forget how I had it written down.
Tui Malolalo.
I think that's right.
It just sounds weird.
Right.
He was like he's one of the most productive players in the Big Ten the last couple of years. So you have some familiarity there as opposed to like some like high RAS score guy from Jackson State or something that no one's ever watched before the last couple of weeks. But you got Quiddy Pay in a contract year. You have Tyquan Lewis in a contract year, and you have Samson Ebukam in a contract year, right? And you're maybe not bringing any of those guys back. I don't think you're bringing Pay, but Pay is just, he's fine, whatever. Like, he didn't become the player that you thought. So you got that. You didn't draft a single guy that can – Jalen Travis, the one offensive lineman, is not going to play guard. He's 6'8", 340 pounds.
That's the
You're not going to play guard.
That's the one thing to me that was peculiar, and I think I'm in agreement with you here. I thought – Derek, you've heard me say this a lot. I mean, it's a queryism that I overuse, I realize, but – linebackers and offensive line and defensive backs. Offensive line and defensive backs. Sunglasses and cell chargers. You can never have too many. As soon as you think you got a good one or a favorite one, you lose it, it breaks, it quits working, whatever it might be. And on the offensive line, I do like the line the Colts have, and I think Chris Ballard gets credit here for putting together a nice offensive line, but they don't have enough depth at it. And somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to be unavailable.
Or somebody's going to be bad.
And
Bortolini might be bad. I mean, I don't know.
I was surprised that they did not go with a lineman. Now, I have no problem with the fact they took a lineman, but I thought they would have gone with another one at some point that is more of that Swiss Army knife type that can play multiple positions. I'd almost rather have a guy on the offensive line that is a 6.5 at 3 different spots than a guy that's a 9 at one spot.
Yeah, I hear you. Gonzalez, they can maybe move inside, but I don't love what they have there. Right, you're still relying on a lot of young guys. Right, I don't love what they have there, and linebacker they didn't address either. I mean, they need more linebackers.
Right,
they're very very thin as far as that is concerned, and I just think like. Jalen Carlisle, who I know that they really like, he was hurt last year. He only played half a season. What if he gets hurt again? Then what do you do? Who else do you even have there? You don't even have bodies there. Whereas, I don't know, they seem to really like Justin Wally, who everybody said was a reach. He's undersized. Cornerback, they've got 100 guys.
Now they do, yeah.
Like
they didn't a year ago. They do now.
I'm not always like a draft for need guy, but if you're going to reach for somebody, I don't know. I was surprised by that pick. The other ones made sense. Riley Leonard is a third-string quarterback. He's the perfect third-string quarterback. You hope he never plays. He can run just like Jones can run, just like Richardson. Right? He can fit. He can't throw at all, but he fits as far as that. At least on the NFL level, he's not going to be able to. He's not an NFL quarterback when it comes to throwing the ball. But he's a great athlete, and he fits. He checks a lot of the Ellinger boxes. He's a great dude. He's a great leader. People like him.
Right.
Comes from a big program. Knows what it takes to win. Blah 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 blah. So that one I think made sense. And the DJ Giddens pick, it makes a lot of sense. He was a really productive player at Kansas State.
He was. He was one. We're talking about the running back that they selected. Back-to-back 1,200-yard seasons, can run the ball. Only had 58 total catches in college.
But he can catch.
Can he? I mean, I don't know.
Yes, he can't block. And that's a problem because Jonathan Taylor can't block either.
Right.
So now, you don't really,
I guess
have that.
and I'm assuming, Greg can correct me here, I think Goodson is still under contract as well at the running back spot, and maybe he becomes the guy that does a little of those two roles, if you will, if you've got to add somebody to the second spot in the backfield.
They signed the veteran, and now free agency feels like so long ago. I'm spacing on. They signed the other running back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Now
out of Buffalo, right?
Yeah,
right?
I'm not remembering right now. But, the other picks made sense to me, but I'm just a little surprised. And it was a thin linebacker draft, apparently, according to everybody. Only a handful went in the top, 100 picks.
I think it was a dry draft all the way around, right? I mean, truthfully, the one guy in the draft going into it that everybody thought could be an impact player is Tyler Warren, right?
A lot of people thought that, yeah. And Cam Ward was the only quarterback that was really talked about as being a high-end quarterback. We made it 30 minutes into the show without mentioning Shadur Sanders, which – it was a little shocking that, it's one thing for Brady Quinn to be waiting in the green room for 8 hours. It's another thing for Sanders to have to do it for 80 hours,
Derek, do you remember when Michael Sam was coming out of college?
Yeah.
And Michael Sam, there was all kinds of hype and report and whatever else because Michael Sam was the first openly gay player to come into the draft, right? Mm. And Tony Dungy said, look, I don't know that we would draft him if I was still around not because he's not a good player, but because you weigh with every prospect the amount of additional attention, scrutiny, buzz, questioning, media that the player's going to get versus what they bring to the table and what the benefit's going to be. And I think that when you look at Shadur Sanders, is he a good player? Sure. I think when you look at some of the ways that he behaved, especially after games to opponents, some of the reports about his teammates, but more specifically, individually, just the way that he conducted himself combined with what the expectation of what he brings to the table was, I think there are teams that just thought, you know what, there might be a player that's a half a tick below him, but comes with way ahead of him in terms of the off-field stuff. I really do believe this. The best explanation I heard, and it was just, I don't remember, somebody on Twitter sent it to me, and I thought it made perfect sense. These coaches have a lot of say in who gets drafted, right? Mm-hmm. Deion Sanders, Deion Sanders is a Hall of Fame player. He was an unbelievable talent. He has an an absolutely electric it factor about him and has done a good job as a college coach. Did an outstanding job at Jackson State and has done a good job so far at Colorado. Not outstanding, but a good job at Colorado. I have nothing against Deion Sanders. But Deion Sanders has been very vocal of insinuation of the fact that he is still going to be involved in the career of Shedeur Sanders. And if you are a head coach in the NFL and you know that Deion is a splashy, sexy, big-name persona, and you know going into a year that, gosh, you know what, like I won 5 games last year, and I'm hoping this quarterback can win me up to 8, you know that immediately all the chatter is going to be, is Deion going to come coach here? Is Deion going to come coach here? And people are constantly questioning your job. Why would you take that on?
Yeah, or if you took Sanders, let's say the Browns took him at 21, and then it doesn't work out, he's their starter next year, and then they decide, well, we need somebody to come in that's going to fix Sanders. We invested this much in him. Let's fire our coach and bring in Deion.
That's
to
what
coach.
I mean.
Yeah,
right.
That's a problem too. I mean, some of it, he is not as good of an athlete as you might think. He was a dynamic player in college, but he's not like a uber athlete or anything like that. He's small, and then you have the questions off the field. So that combination of things makes sense for a drop, but I don't know. For the media to be this off on something is surprising. For him to go 5th round. Well, I mean, just about everybody, even if you were down on Sanders, you still probably had a 2nd or 3rd round grade on him.
You know what I think,
and to fall to the 5th round.
You know what I think hurt him?
Besides all of what we just talked about?
It's ironic because of where he was drafted. But you know what I think hurt Shedeur Sanders? Who's the last player you saw that you think of? Let me just describe. Don't give a guess yet.
Okay.
I'm going to give to you a description of a player in college, and I want you to tell me who it is, okay? Mm-hmm. Little bit small for a quarterback. Just when plays are breaking down, can throw a 60-yard pass on the rope and have a Hail Mary type, status about him of always pulling a rabbit out of the bag. Fearless, cocky, above and beyond and over the top in terms of merchandising and pizzazz. Wanting you to know things like money signs and I'm big time money man and wearing fancy watches and being the glitzy, as soon as I show up, the after party begins because I just have that it factor about me.
I mean, clearly you're talking about Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what hurt him. I think people saw him and thought, this looks like Johnny Manziel all over again.
And something that I don't think we were fully prepared to tackle that we're going to have to tackle here, and I don't know this because I don't think Colorado has to make these numbers public. We are now going to have to navigate this strange world where some guys are going to have to take a pay cut to come to the NFL.
Right.
And I'm assuming that Sanders now, especially with 5th round money, right, would have made more money playing for his dad at Colorado than he will as a rookie in the NFL.
That's probably true.
I mean, does anybody want to get endorsements of this guy now? He dropped to the 5th round. You think, companies are lining up to be like, hey, that's our guy? No, they're probably not. They're probably scared off of all of that because he's nuclear right now. And look, say what you want about Deion and say what you want even about Sanders, who I agree there have been missteps along the way. I think it'd be very hard to be Deion Sanders' son in a lot of respects.
I agree, but Derek, he had a hired camera crew that was following him around.
Yeah, I did. I'm a human being just like he is. I did feel sorry for him. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't take any joy in seeing him get knocked down that far. Like I think some people did, and that's fine. Whatever. It's sports. He's a big boy.
But what did you think of the prank phone call that you find out that 10 different players got?
I still think that is ridiculous too. I don't think it's worth the death penalty for or anything like that, but just it's an awful thing to do, to ruin somebody's day like that, right? Because this is supposed to be their big day. I don't care how high profile of a guy you are, to get a prank call and think you're going somewhere and then to have that throw a wrench in your day, that sucks. That sucks that happened. And this sucks that it happened for Sanders, but it creates a fascinating story in Cleveland because what the hell are they going to do with that room? It's like Joe Flacco and it's Dylan Gabriel and it's Shedeur Sanders, what are we doing there?
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's still there, yeah. Weird room. I mean, is Flacco going to get cut?
It would seem.
I mean, or else you're going to have to cut either Gabriel or Sanders, right?
Well, unless you keep those three.
I mean, this isn't a Cleveland sports show, but I'm like,
Watson's
what are
out.
they doing?
Watson's out, right? Because he's hurt. He's out for another year.
Yeah, a whole year?
Well, he ruptured his Achilles again.
Okay. Yeah.
So Watson's out for the year. So your 3 quarterbacks then would be, unless there's one I'm missing, are we forgetting somebody? Sanders, Gabriel, Flacco, right? Is there somebody else in the room that we're
I
forgetting?
feel like there was a fourth one. QB depth chart. Yeah, Kenny Pickett. Yes. I feel like there was a fourth one.
That's your guy, right?
What do you mean?
Kenny Pickett?
I don't know why he's my guy. He went to Pitt.
I thought you'd like to high five him. High 2.5 him if it's 2 of you.
Oh, because we have small hands?
Yeah.
Both been really successful. We're both professionals at what
He's
we
been
do.
successful?
He's a pro. You know how many people like to play NFL quarterback? You know how many people like to sit here in the ISC studios and host a show? It's not easy to do.
Okay.
Small hands.
Widow hands.
Small hands.
It's okay.
Time for our Winners Drink Milk winner of the week. Thank you to our friends at the American Dairy Association of Indiana for their tremendous support on the show.
Prairie Farms commemorative bottles this winter. I've got Willpower. I think you have Sato, right?
I do. 2-time winner.
That's right.
Takuma Sato. This is what a huge win for Brooke Williams and her team.
Can you name the years for Sato?
17 and 20?
Correct. Nice.
Well, the 21's easy to remember. I always kind of – you made a great point. It would suck to have your one win be 20.
Yeah.
Like, if Will Power's breakthrough Indy 500 win was the COVID race, it would take something off of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was Sato, who is the most unassuming guy anyway, right? Like, who, you know, I don't think he needs the spotlight. I don't know if he even likes the spotlight. But to have it beat Sato after he had already won, I think is great. Because it doesn't take away, because it's his second win, and he won in 17, and people remember him now as a two-time winner. So that's great. Winner of the week, we're going to do Pacers again. Another guy that's having a great series that really had a great play. We used to do Love That Play with Love Heating and Cooling. This absolutely would have been Love That Play. That chase down block for Aaron Neesmith on that play I think it was in the third quarter in Milwaukee. And then it transitioned into a Tyrese Halliburton and one. I just thought, Vince probably jumped off his couch and his cat went flying up into the air because he was so excited about it. So Neesmith gets the block. Halliburton gets the N1. And it was kind of the knockout punch of that game. You felt all the air go out of the building there at Fiserv Forum. And he's just a dog, man. He's a guy that does not need the ball, does not need attention, does not need accolades. All this stuff that we talk about that for so many guys matters, it truly does not matter to him. And this has been his entire career. He's a former guy, he's a top 20 pick who Boston kind of threw into that deal. I don't know if I would say that they gave up on him early. It was a numbers game for them. They had too many bodies,
correct.
Right? So I don't think that it was like, oh, Neesmith's no good, we need to pawn him off on the page. I don't think it was one of those things.
I think Brad Stevens was genuinely torn about having to part ways.
But he ended up being like a thrown player. Like, Neesmith was supposed to be like a shooter and, all these things. And he can make shots and all of that. But he's become just a Swiss Army knife of a player. He can do almost anything. He can guard his behind off. He can make shots. He makes the right play all the time. He's just the exact type of guy you need. Like you mentioned, Derek McKee. Like, he's that type of player, right? That doesn't need any of the headlines. And that's why the Pacers are winning the series. The Pacers aren't winning the series because their stars have been great. They've been pretty good. They're winning the series because the middle of their roster has dominated the Bucks.
You're right.
Middle of the Bucks roster has dominated them.
No question. I mean, Giannis, you know what you're going to get, right? And Damian Lillard, obviously now out. Lillard obviously never was able to get on track because of the injuries. I get that. But the three-point shooters for Milwaukee, Milwaukee's bread and butter over the course of the year has been Giannis getting 35 and then facilitating outward to any of their shooters, whether it be Green, who can, heat check it. Obviously, Prince at times, Lillard
Gary
never
Trent Jr.,
was
man,
able to.
that kid.
Gary Trent Jr., but when you have very good collapsed defense and then guys on offense that can, I think part of the reason Milwaukee's not been able, sparing one game, to get going with their three-point shooting is by the time they come down on offense, they are totally worn out from chasing the ball movement that takes place with the Pacers offensively. And then guys like Neesmith are able to come out on the wing and close in faster and guard that. And that's been the story so far of this series. I love Aaron Neesmith. I love the way Jarris Walker's played, but I agree with your selection of Neesmith. By the way, the American Dairy Association of Indiana, when you think about dairy farming, you think about the greatest tradition in sports. the Indianapolis 500 winter drinking milk. Chocolate milk is the perfect refreshment drink. Matter of fact, I asked somebody the other day, we were talking about the mini marathon on social media, and somebody said, I always have chocolate milk after running a half marathon. That's because when you drink it, you get as much protein as hard-boiled eggs. You get as much spinach as you get in vitamin A. You get as much potassium as you would get in a banana. You get calcium as well. Goes without saying. Vitamin D. Excellent resource for your body. And, of course, think about the commitment from the dairy farmers of Indiana that are up working well before you get up in the morning and making sure that you have your milk and that the great tradition continues at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
As much protein as one whole dill pickle.
You've literally...
Oh, yeah, I mow this down. I have no ostrich pickle.
Do you know you won't get muscle cramps now?
Yeah, I know. I
don't have muscles, but...
Pickles and olives are the two, like, kind of polarizing ones. I cannot get near an olive or even smell
who likes olives?
My dad loves olives.
Horrible.
My dad loves it. He gets the green ones out of the jar and just pops them. Like, he's sitting there and watching the closing bell of the stock market. He's popping green olives. Yeah, it's gross.
Okay, I'll tell you another one.
My wife loves olives. We'll do the olive bar thing, and she'll load up.
Olive bar?
Like, some groceries have, like, the fancy olive bar, and you can get, like, different olives from, I don't know, Greek olives, Italian olives or something. You load up and...
Now, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
But people like that with pickles.
Do you like olive oil?
Oh, yeah, we use it for everything.
I like olive oil.
Yeah, we use that for everything. We cook with it.
Let me tell you one food that I am convinced you have to be minimum 70 before you can acquire taste.
Beets.
Yes.
Yeah, my mom loves beets.
Horrible.
Yeah.
My mom does too.
Yeah, loves them. It's that generation, too. Everything came out of a can. You know, it's that generation.
Beets are awful.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very, very good for you. But, yeah, they're terrible. I hate them. Yeah.
It's the worst thing.
Yeah.
Literally, it's the worst thing on the planet. Deviled eggs, high on the list.
Oh, I can't do it. Can't do it. I love all kinds of. I love over easy. I love poached eggs. I love scrambled eggs. I love omelets. I can't do deviled. I can't do hard boiled.
Yeah.
Not a fan. Not a fan of the hard boiled. I want to say one thing just to close out, and I know Game 5 is tonight. You know, Jake and I kind of disagree here. I don't think we should be afraid to say this because I think we're, especially now in social media, you're worried about people going back in your tweets and saying and seeing things and stuff like that. Series is over. Series is over. The Bucks. There's okay. Is there a chance? Yeah, there's a chance. You know, you never know. You take it one game at a time. Okay, there's a 0.005% chance that the Bucks win this series. Their best case scenario right now is forcing a Game 7 in Indiana. That's their best case scenario. Even getting there is hard. Outside of a quarter and a half, the third quarter of Game 3, and basically the finish, not even a half a quarter, but the final 5 minutes of Game 2, Pacers have completely dominated the series.
Okay, while I don't believe in saying anything until it's a done deal, because I do think it's entire. I mean, listen. How many times have I seen the Pacers come at home with a chance to close in a Game 6 in a 7-game series, and New York comes to mind.
Yeah,
and
that's different though. The Knicks had such a great pedigree. Okay. They were fighters and warriors.
Okay,
yeah, wouldn't go down without.
Let me tell you the biggest reason why I'm excited for the Pacers to advance to round 2, and I'm not trying to put chickens before they hatch. They still have to win another game.
It's over.
But, and this is totally legitimately serious, I've talked about this for like a year. It was a much more arduous process than I thought it would be. But I now officially have the trademark for the phrase, why not Indiana?
Nice.
Right? Partnered with our friends at the shop who we've done things with in the past. And if the Pacers are to win round number 1 and advance to the Eastern Conference semifinals, this bad boy right here is going to be made available from the shop.
Oh, cool.
Why not Indiana T-shirts from the shop in Indy will be available for round number 2.
Because didn't they start to try to do that? And you said, hey, I actually have a trademark.
Well, I mean, they were doing it in partnership with me, but
yeah.
When you go through a trademark, if you put it into public domain prematurely, it can hold up the trademarking. So I had to wait. There's a period you have to go through. It's like a 90-day period to make sure that nobody opposes your trademark and that nobody has claimed it from public domain. So that's why I said, let's hold off on it. So now it officially has gone through. The trademark has. As a matter of fact, there's another version of this that you can't see it here. It has the little trademark thing at the end of it.
A couple $100 you had to fill out a form, or how did all that work?
It was pricier than that.
Yeah.
But yes, It was rather expensive. I had to file it through the trademark, whatever service, governmentally.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
No, you can. Here's what's interesting. I talked to a trademark attorney, but then I found, I went through basically a website or a service, paid them the money. They do everything, which was very helpful. But one of the things that's interesting is once you do that, and then it's a long process, your trademark goes into a registry for a probationary 6-month period, and anybody can look at that registry, and if they have opposition to it, they can stand up and say, no, I have right to this. Yeah. Somebody has trademarked Why Not Washington, and so that was a holdup. During the time that takes place, the number, and they send you a thing warning you of this, the number of emails and letters in the mail that I got saying, hey, the final step is there. You just need to pay $700 to this account. I bet I got 20 of those.
Oh, jeez.
It was but all told, it was more expensive than I thought. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to have fun with it. And my ultimate goal is to see whether or not the state of Indiana, don't mess with Texas. You ever heard that phrase? I want to see if Indiana will pick it up. Why not Indiana?
Yeah, and if and when you get fired, that's something to fall back on.
We can probably drop the
if
right?
Yeah. You want to protect yourself this time around. One other thing that I want to say about the series, I feel terrible.
Will you wear a shirt? Your dad wants a shirt.
I would wear that. Yeah. As a Damian Lillard appreciator, and I know this has turned into a rivalry and people hate Dame now. I love watching Dame play, and you hate to see it when he fights back from the blood clots and all of that. That had nothing to do with the outcome of this series.
I would agree with that.
Zero to do with it. Damian Lillard fully healthy doesn't change this series. And I don't want the national perspective to come that way, and I don't want the Bucks to come that way. I don't want Bucks media to come out and say, well, Dame got hurt. Look, the Pacers have had great injury luck. They've had fantastic injury luck. They have, knock on wood, right? Knock on wood, they've had fantastic injury luck, but them's the breaks. They're a better team than Milwaukee.
They are.
I am surprised how much better they are than Milwaukee.
Cleveland is really, really good, but Indiana might be the deepest team in the East.
Yeah, they're a better team than Milwaukee.
You know who's been big in that regard? You can't keep him off the floor. Well, I shouldn't say off, but there was thought that he wasn't going to be in rotation. Jarris Walker in the last 2 months has – he's at the point now where he wants to take the three.
They've played 10 deep, and remember last year we were begging Carlisle to only go like 7 or 8.
Right.
Because we were like, whoa, what are you doing? It's been great. Their depth and everything. It's really showed out in this series. We come back, quick hits, and we will remember a friend of both of ours, his celebration of life coming up here shortly. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey and Wood.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to our great sponsors that make this show possible. Thanks to our great crew, Vince, who is in a great mood because of how the Pacers are playing. Our buddy Greg Rakestraw is back in there. Charlie's back in there.
You know what Vince and I have in common?
What's that? Both talented, semi-good-looking guys.
Okay. Aside from that, I'm not stating the obvious here.
Well, Vince is a really hard worker. You're not. What else is Vince?
Now, I'd like to get into that.
Vince hasn't used others to ascend. You have. I can actually list more differences between. Vince is self-made. You're largely not. Yeah.
I used my connections of what?
To you stand up on other people's shoulders and call yourself tall, like that sort of thing.
Derek, I could stand up on your shoulders and see an extra 4 feet.
Well, you stood up on my shoulders. It saved your career.
Okay.
In 2011.
Vince, a cat dad.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yes, I did know that you guys were both cat people. I love cats. I am an equal dog and cat person. I just love animals, period. I go for a dad walk around Midtown at like 10:30 at night when Ashley's not working. I'll do like a 40-minute lap. And I almost always find like a neighborhood cat that'll follow me around, but I always stop to pet and talk to it a little bit, and then usually it'll follow me around for like a half a block before the cat's like, yeah, I'm good. But cats are great. I grew up with cats. My parents weren't dog people, so we were cat people in the Schultz household. Yeah, cats are cool. They march to the beat of their own drummer, though, right?
Totally.
Yeah, big time. Wanted to remember, and I apologize. You know, the days kind of run together for me, but I wanted to make sure that we remember that we did this because I couldn't for the life of me remember for some reason last week's show, which kind of got washed out because of the Pacers playoff game. We've had some bad luck with scheduling with the Pacers playoff games with 2 games now in 2 weeks on Tuesday nights. But our friend Jersey Johnny passed away, and his celebration of life is coming up here in a couple of weeks. And if we have talked about it before, I apologize. He deserves to get talked about twice.
Sure.
So we'll relift that up again. A guy that you knew from well before the WIBC days, but you know, if you were a Colts fan in the 90s, 2000s, like you knew Jersey Johnny. I mean, he did the post-game show up until Rake, right? Wasn't it? Did it go Jersey and then into Rake?
That may be right.
Yeah. Okay. Or you know, close to it, whatever it was. And then he did his own show. He did the Jersey Johnny show. So that wasn't related to the Colts, but obviously it was heavily about the Colts because the Colts were the reason that he came to Indiana. And he worked for, what was it, Pepsi?
Pepsi, yep.
He did that as well. And you'd always see him in the press box. And I mean this in the nicest way possible, but like, you know those people in your life who you talk to and randomly and you catch up with, and you're like, hey, man, how's it going? And it's always, you know, man, my back's really hurting today. Or, work sucks right now, man. Jersey was always like that, which it almost became like endearing that
totally.
Like you would meet Jersey in the press press room and the press box, and you'd always know that there'd be some story of something where he had been wronged or there was something that was going on in his life. And then you start talking about the Colts and whatever else, and he was super funny and self-deprecating and all the things that I like about people. I love sarcasm. I love when people aren't afraid to make fun of themselves. I love stuff like that. I love pessimism. I love people that are pessimistic. I don't know what it is.
Well, he's realistic. Right?
Well, yeah, but you know that always kind of strays into when you're real all the time. It strays into being pessimistic. But he was a friend. He was a friend to a lot of people. We had kind of lost touch, and I knew that his health was failing him because I would get updates from other people as well. I don't remember the last time. I think the last time I saw him was pre-COVID at a Colts game. I think the Jacoby Brissett season in 2019. And we had talked a little bit since then, but you know, I was sad to see it. He was such a character and a unique part of indie sports lore.
Several years ago, when I say several, Derek, I'm talking nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I was working in a cigar store, and they had a contest. I was listening to the radio, and they had a contest on WIBC where you had 60 seconds to call in and give a sports hot take or something into an answering machine. And if you were selected, you got to be one of the 5 finalists to go to a live show at Chumley's on Broad Ripple Avenue and do a segment with Joe Hillman and Kevin Lee, the best of which they were going to pick a winner that could then go in and co-host on a Sunday night show.
Wow.
So I did that contest, and I won. And the prize was I got to go co-host with Jersey Johnny on the Jersey Johnny and Grover show. And
I have never heard this story.
Yeah, I went in there, and it was the Colts were getting ready to play the Dallas Cowboys a week later. Deion Sanders was coming to town, and I could not have been more thrilled. It was on the Showcase Studios on Monument Circle. I came down. I remember my friend Greg DeBrooker and the girl that I was dating at the time coming and standing outside on Monument Circle to listen to it, and I was on there for an hour. And Jersey Johnny, in that hour, treated me like I was Casey Kasem. He treated me like a normal co-host. He talked me up. He just was incredibly kind in a time, and especially, and I knew it then, and I know it more so now, you know, a lot of times for a radio host that can be a challenge to have some interloper that just comes in. He was never that way. And he treated me ever since then as if we had like been roommates at the time. And shortly thereafter, I remember, I say shortly, it would have been 10 years after that or so, I was driving one day and I turned on his show, and he was interviewing a radio play-by-play guy, college radio play-by-play guy. And I thought, why, it was this time of year, why is Jersey Johnny, I know it's Jersey Johnny, but why is he interviewing the Rutgers football play-by-play guy in April? Well, he was doing so because he had seen the undrafted free agent list and gone to one of the mini camps and liked what he saw out of one player and wanted to have that player's college play-by-play guy come on because Jers saw like a talent in this guy, and then the Jersey connection, he was rooting for him, and it was Gary Brackett.
Huh.
So the first time that I'd ever heard of Gary Brackett was because Jersey Johnny had seen that this guy had a potential about him. I've always thought that was the most fitting thing in the world because Gary Brackett as a football player personifies Jersey Johnny as a broadcaster, a guy that took an opportunity, found his way, and became an endearing part of this community.
Underdog story.
Underdog story. And in addition to that, he then championed for the, all of his work for the honor flights and for veterans of World War II. There are few things that you will find for any person that they have more passion about than John did for veterans, for the honor flights, and for making sure that the POWs and MIAs are recognized in both of our professional arenas here in town. He was the best of us for sure and will be missed in this town for a very long time.
Yeah, and there will never, and this gets said a lot, but there will never be somebody like Jersey Johnny.
No question.
He was
no question.
He was one of one. No,
the last time I
doubt.
saw him, Derek, he was working at the zoo. In his retirement, he'd gotten a job at the zoo, and the last time that I saw him, he was standing just helping the crowds or whatever in front of the sloths.
Perfect. Perfect spot for him.
Right?
That is my dream. That's good. Also my retirement gig. So
Yes.
I will follow along in Jersey Johnny's footsteps when it comes to that. When we return, Chateau Kitchen's Buy It or Bow Bleep, and we will tie a bow on this edition of Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in, it's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, AC,
Nice snap.
mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
And then we'll turn you all out.
Back for a final time here on Corey and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. Fun thing about our commercial breaks here is it's just two best friends complaining about stuff. That's what
I'm not wrong in this case, am I?
I can't name any names, but just it has nothing to do with anybody here at IC.
But I'm not wrong, am I? You agreed with me.
Not wrong. I agree with you. Two best friends.
Buy it or Bull Schultz. Derek always agrees with Jake. Buy it. Because Jake's always
I always agree with Chateau Kitchen's takes on things.
Yeah.
In-home transformations, that's what they're in the business of doing. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook, before and after pictures. You don't even have to take my word for it. They've transformed my home. The reason why we're having people over this Saturday is because I have a home that we can be proud of and take pride in, and that's thanks to our friends at Chateau Kitchens, and they can do the same for your home with in-home transformations at ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook. Statement number one, Jake. Buy it or Bow Bleep. This was Chris Ballard's last draft class with the Colts. Buy it or Bow Bleep.
Nah, it's Bull Schultz.
Yeah, I'm going to say Bow Bleep too. Because another one of my hot takes, besides Daniel Jones being the starter, is that the Colts are going to mess around and win 9
Yeah,
10
they'll go
games.
11-6, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they'll go 11-6, but I think they'll go 9-8, 10-7, get a wild card. find their way in, even if they lose. And I think this roster is just good enough to like inch over that line. So we'll see if they can do that. I don't think it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Chris Ballard's last draft class. Don't get me wrong, because this is a big year for him. I think this is finally the year where if things really went in the tank, he would not be able to survive another year like he had last year, I don't think. But I don't think that's going to happen, so that's why I think he's going to end up being back. Shadur Sanders will start a game for the Cleveland Browns this year. Buy it or bull bleep?
Oh, buy it.
You ruined it for me because I thought you were going to say bull bleep. I'm also going to buy it because it's the Browns, right? Wouldn't that happen in the Browns?
I think the Browns probably, once they got to round 2, I think they're like, hey, you know what, let's just wait. Get some. This guy's not going anywhere.
I mean, I think they took Gabriel thinking that's going to be our quarterback.
That was kind of interesting, too.
And then when it got to the 5th round, they were just kind of like, we don't think Dylan Gabriel's a slam dunk. We reached for him to begin with. Why not just take a flyer on Sanders, too? Right. Why not? Let's make it the weirdest quarterback room in the NFL.
It is fitting.
And so now they have the weirdest quarterback room.
Browns, though, to be like, let's create a quarterback drama by burning 2 picks.
Throw a bunch of crap at the wall and see what's. But that's another case where the roster's pretty good. Like they have good players on the Browns. They just can't figure out what they have at.
All right, I've got one for you, Derek.
Buy it or bull Schultz. Last one.
Buy it or bull Schultz. The Pacers season has at least 8 more games in it.
Oh well, yeah, buy it because this series is over. So, well, at least more games. That states that Cleveland will definitely go 7. Or that they'll go to the conference finals. I think Cleveland is, if you had the same season that the Cavs just had with the same players, and you gave them Celtics jerseys, or you gave them Warriors jerseys, I think we have a different viewpoint. I think because it's Cleveland, you think to yourself, well, it's Cleveland. They don't have LeBron. It's the Cavaliers, right? You think of like the Brad Daugherty teams, like they can't be that good. They're really good. I mean, what they did to Miami the other night is illegal in most states. Like, they disemboweled them in that game, destroyed them, and they're a good team. I think the Pacers can win the series. Don't get me wrong. I think. To me, the big roadblocks for the Pacers are Boston, Oklahoma City, the cream of the crop, the very cream of the crop. Now, you can argue that Cleveland, they're the 1 seed in the East. You can argue that Cleveland is in that group. I'm a little hesitant, just in a league where it's all about been there, done. Look at what's happening to Houston.
Though, man.
Look what's happening to Houston right now. This league has been there, done that. That's what this league has always been. You're not on that level until you beat somebody on that level and you take the crown from them. But I think Cleveland's really good. But yes, I do think that they have 8 games because they got another round. They got another round in them.
And so you think go 7? You must if you're saying 8 games because you think they have 1.
I think it'll be a long series against Cleveland. But then again, I thought the Bucks were going to be a long series and it wasn't. Yeah. I mean, I thought the Bucks were going to be a 6-7 game
Remains
series.
To be seen.
Thanks to our great sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, Chili Water Brewing, and Hoagies and Hops Tap Room, American Dairy Association of Indiana. Jinx, say it at the same time. And our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group. For Vince, for Rake, I'm Derek. He's Jake. We'll see you next time here on Corey and Schultz. Hopefully at a normal time. ISC Sports Network.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
At